Hello and welcome back to another episode of Learning PHP with me. I'm sorry for the past few episodes the video hasn't appeared. It was just a black screen because of some glitch that I overlooked. This should be fixed now. You should be able to watch my video, and we're going to continue on with our series where we're developing a note-taking application using raw PHP. The entire series is based on, essentially it's a reaction to, or it's me following along the series called PHP for Beginners by Laracasts, and that entire series is available for free on laracast.com and youtube.com. Both of the links are in the description. Be sure to check it out if you'd like to follow along. So let's begin. Today's subject is Intro to Forms and Request Methods.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I think it's finally time to dig into forms. And I say finally because, if we're being honest, it's probably a little overdue, but one thing at a time, right? So let's get going. The first thing I'm thinking, if I switch to Firefox, is there should be some button down here to create a new note. So let's do that now. I will go into my views, the one for displaying all notes, and then, yeah, maybe right here, Well, first, let's wrap this whole thing within an unordered list. And then, yeah, maybe right here we'll have a paragraph that includes a link to somewhere where that link's text is create note. And I'll need to style this as well. So I will make it blue, and then when you hover over it, we will underline it. Okay, so come back, give it a refresh. And yeah, maybe we should give it a little breathing room. Margin top of 6. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll turn it into a fancy button maybe in a little bit. Okay, so now if I click on this, where should we go? Well, it sounds like we should.
Yeah, let's do it. He created a paragraph tag, interestingly enough, and he wrapped it in unordered list. So let me close everything. Close all. We're in notes plural.php. Over here, I'm gonna wrap it in an unordered list. And I'm gonna add a paragraph tag and an anchor tag that goes somewhere and says create note. Margin top was 6, not call days, sorry, class empty6, and this was class text blue. I think I used 600 for everything, and hover underline. Okay, so we're following along just fine.
Should create a new route for that. So let's go into, let's close out the views. We'll go.
Just creating a new route. Let's jump ahead a little and see if we're correct. Add a comma here, and you know what? I like to do it here instead. / create, and that should take us to the controller create. Let's see. For consistency,
go into our router. But now I want you to notice how all of our route declarations are jumbled up against all of the logic here. And I don't know, maybe that's okay, but it might be cleaner if we extract these routes into their own file so that we don't have to see all this junk every single time we need to add or tweak a route. So with that in mind, let's create a new file, and it's just going to be called routes. Then I will take these out, I'll cut it with Command X, and then move it over into our new file. Just like that. But next, instead of declaring a variable here, why don't we take the same approach as we did when we created the configuration?
Okay, I think I know what he's doing. Let me try that. Router.php, routes.php, routes.php. Here I am going to, you know what, first up, enter PHP mode, and I'll return this thing, and inside router I'll say routes equals require routes dot PHP. Does that still work? Yes, it does. A good little revision. So what I did was essentially exported the routes associated array, and in the routes in the router I required it, so I imported it here. Cool. I'm not using this, so I'll take this out. Where's it? Here.
File where we just return directly from the file. Okay, so we'll swap this out with return. And then finally, if I go back to my router, I can now say right at the top, routes equals require routes. Okay, and then finally, this URI variable, we can really put that down here if we want. Okay, and here's what we get. So if I come back to Firefox and give this a refresh, yeah, everything works exactly the way it did before, but now we have this nice, clean, simple file.
Yeah, it works much better. I'm gonna do that. So instead of like removing the URI, I think this is useful for debugging. I'm gonna move that down. Okay. Does that still work? Yes, it does.
We can visit whenever we need to add a new route. Okay, and as it turns out, we need to do that right now. So let's say, how about if you visit, I don't know, how about notes/create? That will take us to controllers slash, and we could call it create note, or why don't we reverse it? We'll say note create. Okay, so why did I reverse it there? Well, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's just kind of a style thing. But notice, if we did call it create note.php, it is now separate from all of the other controllers related to notes. And remember, in real life, you could potentially have dozens and dozens of files. So again, it's not like it really matters, but...
One second, let me do that too. I'm in the routes, and he did notes/create. Interesting. Note/create.
It's often useful. Control did call it create.
Interesting. So plural create and singular create.
Note.php, it could potentially have dozens and dozens of files. So again, it's not like it really matters, but it's often useful if we group them. And we can group them by beginning each controller with the word note or the corresponding resource.
Yeah, nice.
And again, on that note, keep in mind that you'll eventually learn how to create a single controller that can respond to multiple request types. But for now, we're just assuming one request, one route, one controller, and we'll keep it simple. Okay, so now we'll say right here, as usual, we will require a view. And what should we call the view? Well, how about exact same thing? Note create.view.php. And I will duplicate this. Note create.view.php.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. So note create.php is in the controllers over here. I'm gonna copy, paste, and F2 to rename, note-create, and I'll just require, I'm probably gonna need these, so I'll comment this out. Note create view.php. So I am here. Copy, paste, rename, note create .php. Here I'll just say hi there, hello. Okay, let's see if that worked. Wait, I really need to refresh it. Oh, I haven't given it the link. Notes.php here. /notes/create. Okay. Yeah, it works. Cool. He's probably gonna have us build a form over there. Let's watch.
And yeah, let's see what we can do here. Get rid of that. And we'll just say create a note to make sure that it's working. Okay, so let's go back to our overview. And now we have a place to link. Notes/create. All right, let's give it a shot. Back to Firefox. Give it a refresh. I click on create notes. And ooh, yeah, we forgot to declare a heading. But nonetheless, it does look like it's working. Okay, so let's fix that little issue, and we'll be...
Why did I not get the error? Note create. Header my notes. Yeah, I just didn't get the... I got a blank this thing. Yeah. Create a note. Okay. Let's continue.
Be off to the races. Heading equals create note. All right, and I think we're in business. So now, before I start working on the form, why don't we have a quick little conversation about naming conventions for your routes. So of course, remember, there's no rules. You can name these whatever you want. But that being said, there are guidelines where it's useful to follow them, to be honest. If you're working with other people, it can be useful if you all follow the same guidelines. That way, your approach is going to be pretty similar to Joe's or Sarah's approach if you work on the same team. Okay, so I want you to notice these three routes here. /notes would be a page to view all of the notes. And we can see that right here. Show me a list of the notes. /notes would be a page to view a single note. Or in fact, eventually, once you learn about routes, parameters, or wildcards, you might see something like this. Notes / and then you'd have some kind of wildcard like we learned with prepared statements, where you could do something like that. And that would say, okay, listen for notes / and then some kind of identifier or a slug. Notes /1 would show me the note with an ID of 1. Notes /4 would show me the note with an ID of 4. But yeah, for now, we're just keeping it simple because we don't have a complex router, and we've named it /note. And then finally, we have one called /notes/create, which of course would display a form to create a note. So again, notice that I'm not calling these like view note, create note. And yeah, there's nothing preventing me from doing this, so I could do it if I want, but I don't love it. And further, I'm a big fan of following conventions for the community you work in, following common conventions. And I think you'll find in our space, people often follow what's known as a RESTful approach. And I don't want to get into REST. It's not appropriate, and it's too soon to talk about
A representational state transfer.
that.
A representational state transfer.
But for now, I just want you to notice, the pattern. So imagine any resource you have. It could be notes, it could be posts, it could be users, it could be anything. Maybe you're building a photo app, then your resource would be photos. Well, you might have a URI called /photos to view all photos. You might have a URI like /photo or /photos/ and then the ID for viewing a specific photo. You might have a URI like /photos/create to display a page or a form to create a photo. So again, I want you to notice this system and this pattern that I'm following.
That's called REST. That exactly is called representational state transfer, REST.
And later you'll learn how to respond to specific request types, like a post request or a put request or a delete request. Okay, little tangent there, but file that one away for later. All right, let's get back to work. So into our view, we're now going to display a form. So I will add a form here. And we're going to start with the most bare bones form. And then at the end of the video, we'll pull in a fancy looking form from Tailwind. Okay, so we might start, well, actually, before we do that, let's go to Table Plus into Notes. And yeah, we can see the form we need to create will correspond to the table here. So really, this is a simple one right now. All I need is a body. So yeah, if we took the simplest possible approach, I would have a text area. I'd have a name that corresponds to, and it doesn't have to, but frequently it will correspond to the column in the corresponding table. And then you would have some kind of button. So again, this is not going to look pretty, but we're making it super quick to test things out. All right, so go back to Firefox, give it a refresh. Create notes. And yeah, it's all we get, a very unstyled form. Okay, so now let's just see what would happen. Some new note idea. I submit the form, and it looks like it disappears, but we can actually see that the page did refresh, and now the form data is included as part of the query string. Okay, very interesting. And in fact, one little thing I should show you, if I did not include a name on the text area, let's try it again. All right, one more time, create. And notice this time it is not included. So you probably already know this, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, you want to make sure that all of your form inputs, form inputs include a corresponding name. All right. So now why don't we make
Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna close everything. And I'm gonna just open the create note view. Here it needs a form, submit. Okay, no action, but that's fine. Okay, text area, body. I haven't given it an ID yet. And then I'll need a button. So the reason he put the button inside a paragraph tag is because if he didn't, it'll show up inline. I'll show you. Button, create note. Okay. Back to our notes, create note. See, it's showing up inline, but I don't want that. We want it to be in the next line. So we'll put it between a paragraph tag. And here you go. Give it a refresh. There it is. Cool. So my create is humongous. The text area is humongous. So I'm gonna remove those definitions, those parameters there. Okay, let's continue.
my editor happy. It's squawking because I haven't included a label, so we'll do that now. Label for, and this wants the name of a corresponding input's ID. Not the name, but ID. So often you'll see people double up here. They'll give an ID and a name, and usually it's for this purpose. Okay, so we'll say label for body, and then we'll say, it doesn't have to be called body, but that's fine. Note, description, whatever you want. All right, come back, let's see. Yeah, we want the input below it. So maybe I could wrap this within a div and give it a reformat. Come back, refresh. And yeah, you get the idea. Again, we're not going to focus too much on styling because at the end of the video, we'll pull in a pre-configured form that looks nice and pretty. Okay, but anyways, yeah, I can fill out this form, and when I submit it, it seems like it just refreshes the page and updates the query string.
Let's try that. I like PHP. Yeah, that's what it does.
And this is a GET request. So by default, a form will submit using a GET request. And as it turns out, things like this, GET request, GET request, GET request, GET request, get me that page. But it's not the only request type you can make. There's many more.
Get, put, post, delete, batch.
And one of those other types is a post request. So why don't we tweak this and say form, method is post. All right, and I won't change anything else here.
This is HTML. This is not PHP yet. Okay. Notes. Create a note. Yeah, but because it did not have an endpoint, it did nothing.
Let's just see what happens. So I submit the form and it refreshes again. But notice how this time it did not include the form data as part of the query string. And yeah, this is the key difference between a GET request and a POST request. Both of them can be used to transfer data or information to the server. But yeah, with a GET request, you are doing it through or via the query string. And with a POST request, you are doing it sort of in the shadows a little bit as part of the message body. And later I'll show you how to inspect that. And then finally, last little thing I'll note on this, technical term incoming, sorry about that. With a GET request, they should be considered idempotent. And that just means no matter how many times you make the request, whether I do this 1 time or 10,000 times, I'm not doing anything destructive. I'm still going to get the same results. But that is not true for things like submitting a form. So if I submitted this form and once it's complete, we would persist a new note in the database. So that means if I did this 10,000 times, wouldn't I have 10,000 records in the database?
Yeah.
That is not idempotent, so we should not use a GET request for this form submission. Okay, but now, yeah, that begs the question, well, I fill it out, I submit it, where did it go? All right, let's have a look. Let's go back to note create. And why don't we do this? I'm going to die and dump the server, like we did many episodes ago.
Nice.
All right, let's do it again. Submit it. And here's what we get. So yeah, let's just inspect this and see if there's anything relevant. Lots of information about my computer. But then I do see this one here, request method, post. Let's try reloading the page. All right, now we do it. Request method is get. And of course, I visited the page and that's a GET request. But when I submitted the form, I changed the request type to post. So that's why it's GET when I visit the form, like that. But then when I submit the form and it reloads this page, it changes to post. Okay, so I think we can inspect that. Let's do this. When the page loads, why don't we say, well, if the server, and I'm just grabbing this right here, if the request method equals post, well, then we know at this point we are responding to the submission of the form. You submitted the form. All right, let's give it a try. Refresh, fill it out, submit, you submitted the form. So now we have a way to distinguish between a GET request to this URI and a POST request to this URI. Cool. But yeah, now the next thing, how do I get information from the form?
Let's see that. Let's find out. So I need to go to the node create PHP. Here I'll just say if server superglobal request method is post dd, no, not dd, just echo. You submitted the form. Okay. Did I submit? Yeah, you submitted the form. Okie dokie. So because I'm echoing instead of DDing, it's showing me the form again. Okay, this is as expected behavior.
And as it turns out, we have a new super global $_post.
Oh wow!
Right,
let's see. $post. This is fun. Oh, if I refresh it, it's going to resubmit the form. Hahaha! Amazing! Post is an array. It's an associative array with body. Because the form's name is body. Correct? Yeah. I did not include a label, which is fine, I guess. But for now, if I change body to buddy, and I'm not your friend guy. Not your guy, buddy, friend. South Park reference. Yeah, I changed to buddy. Amazing. So that's where it's pulling from. I'm going to change this back to body. I love South Park. I love South Park. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I probably need to save the post body. I'll just say body. Cool. So it's an empty string. I change this to Backstreet Boys. Okay, cool. So I need to save this somewhere, or it'll probably be how do you write to the server? He hasn't taught us yet. It'll be something like db object query something. You see, I need to still I told you I'll need to reuse this, so that's why I did not remove. Instead I just commented it out. It'll probably be like the reverse of this. I'm finding all, I'm pushing post body into the database. Now let's see how we do it.
What happens? Refresh, and there we go. Notice I have an array of all of the attributes from the form. All right, cool. So now if you think about it, we've added a form and we figured out how we can respond to the submission of the form. We've learned how we can grab all of the data or the attributes from the form. So the final step would be perform any validation that's necessary and then persist it or save it to the database. So I'm going to hold off on that for one more episode. Okay. And we will finish up this video by swapping out our ugly form here with something that's a lot more attractive.
Let's make it sexy.
Now. I'm going to visit tailwindui.com. And yeah, they usually offer some free components that we can use. So I will look for form. And yeah, so notice, yeah, nicely styled, professionally styled forms that we can pull from. And it looks like this one on top is free to all. So I will click on that, come back, And why don't we insert all of this right here? And yeah, clearly we have a massive amount of form data here, but we can just grab the pieces that we are interested in. So let's come back to Firefox and take a look. And yeah, I think we're most of the way there. One little issue, notice how the form input is not displaying quite like their version. Let's see why. We'll go to the top here, and they have a little note. So it looks like this example requires a Forms plugin. But luckily, this should be pretty easy to add because we are referencing Tailwind through its CDN. So I will visit my head section, and yeah, I think it's as easy as saying plugins equal form.
Wow.
Come back, give it a refresh, and ooh, that was not right. Maybe it's called forms. Okay,
Wow.
Okay, good. I got scared there for a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, so now,
This is so interesting. I love it. 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 Okay, you saw what he did there. Let me replicate this. Tailwind UI components. This is the one we previously used, application shell. Now I need forms, form layout. Yeah, this is the one that we're using. Okay. Copy it. It's a lot, I know. And go to the view, and I'm gonna replace the form with this. What did I do? Replace the form with this. Okay, let's go. This is probably gonna be a go. Notes, create. Okay, it's not super ugly, but it can be prettier. See, this thing is a little not super sexy yet. So let's go to the head. Head is here. Yeah, Tailwind, and it's as simple as plugins equals forms. Is that it? Refresh. That doesn't make any difference at all. Question mark plugins equals forms. Yeah, this doesn't need forms now, I think. I'll just forearms, just intentionally mistyping it. Yeah. No, I guess it needs it. But I don't see any difference. Do you? So let me remove it. Without the plugin, with the plugin. Yeah, without the plugin, this was separate. So I'm going to keep it with the plugin. Very minute difference. Okay. Now let's edit this so that we're just using, I guess, just this one, about form, and save. That's it. Let's see what he does. Okay, good. I got scared there for a minute. Yeah, so now, yeah, that looks much better. So now I'm just going to pluck the sections that I need. So it looks like we have a notifications, a personal information, and a profile section. Let's just break it down. I'll go back to only the profile section. So let's see. These are the dividers, so the little sections here with a little padding and a line. So I can get rid of that. I'll get rid of personal information, get rid of the next divider, and then get rid of notifications. All right, how's that looking? Yeah. Next, you can keep it if you want, but I don't think we need that sidebar. So we have a grid, call span 1. Can I get rid of that? Yeah, we're getting there. And then finally, why don't we just keep this and
Yeah, really, we could get rid of everything else.
Okay, let's do it. Told you that's what he'd do. It's like we are telepathically communicating. Okay, so let me get rid of everything but about. So this is about. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove name is about. Write a few sentences about yourself. This is fine. This is all of this is just about. And this is for photo. I'm going to remove photo. I'm going to remove cover photo, file upload, drag or drop, personal information, first name, last name, email, country, street address, city. I'm going to remove all of this, state, province, zip code, notifications by email, comments, candidates, offers, push notifications, save as, yeah, over here. Okay, so I see a cancel button and I see a, this should be a submit button as it is, save, yeah. Let's see how this looks. Okay, cool. I'm gonna remove the profile information as well. So to do that, it's just this. And is this div closing? I don't think it is. This div is closing, this div is closing, but these two are not. What if I just remove them? And refresh. I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. In fact, I'll just call this your note. Make a new note, right? Oh, new note. New note, your note, write a new note. Okie dokie. Nice and clean. Okay. Okay, let's go. The save button should have the post action, right? Type button. It's already submit, so it's probably by default on post, but let's see what he does.
Okay, so this should be pretty easy. Let's get rid of that one. We want about. Let's get rid of the photo. Yeah, this is kind of what's cool about Tailwind is you can grab it and then just use whatever is necessary and throw away the rest.
I love it.
So let's see how that looks. I don't think we need a little descriptor, so I can get rid of that. Good. Okay, so let's change this to body. It's a text area, and once again, I'm just going to bring it right back to what we had before, where we have an ID and name of body, because that is the name.
Sure, let's remove this. Body, and body.
Of the column. So finally, we have a form here. It is making a post request. And then, yeah, this action attribute may or may not be new to you. That just specifies where the request should go. So by default, if it's not included, that means we are submitting to the current page. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you want to do something like this, make new note, well, now it's going to make a post request to this URI instead of the current page. And yeah, we sort of talked about a RESTful system. Eventually, you might do something like this. And that would say, all right, we're going to make a post request to /notes to create and persist a new note in the database. But for now, I'm just going to keep it to submitting to the current page. All right, and I think this looks pretty good. Update this, come back, and we have our form. And I'm sorry, last little thing, and then I'll let you go. We don't need a placeholder. Or how about here's an idea for a note, ... Come back, refresh, and we have our form. We submit it, and there's your cliffhanger.
Oh my god, love this so much. Okay, cool. Let's fix this. So my form did not have a method. Post. Okay. I don't have a placeholder, right? Do I? Yeah, placeholder that is, but I removed it, I think. Yeah, I did. Cliffhanger music. Yeah, it works. Again, this is happening because I echoed it instead of die dumping it. Okay. No, because my die dump method does just that. It doesn't actually kill anything. Let's try and change that. Just so that you're here with me. Just so that we understand this together. It should probably die. Let's do this now. Create a node. Metalloclips is awesome. Now it should die. It did. Cool. Sorry if that reference is new to you. Metalloclips die. Go forth and die. They have a nice song called Die. Yeah, death that. There's just, oh Jesus, I love this. Cool. So let's go back and close the chapter out.
And we'll tackle this in the next video.
Amazing. Love this. Okay, is there homework? Is there homework? No, there's no homework yet. But we completed it. Let's do a recap of what we just witnessed. We edited the notes plural view, which is over here, to add a button which says create new note. In fact, since you're here with me, let me add that too. See this? New note create view is, it has a save button, right? So let me just say copy this itself. Okay. Let's see if it'll work. I will go to notes, go here, add form type should not be submit. I'll just ahref it. Can I href it? I think I can. Slash notes slash create. Okay, let's see. I can't href it. We'll fix it. How tailwind? Let's find out. This is a basic as question. Tailwind CSS buttons. Okay, button class text pink. What's the code to add a link? Should I ask ChatGPT? Oh. Tailwind CSSH. I think I can just like wrap it inside an anchor tag, but I want to see if there's a better way to do it. How to add a link to a tailwind button. Yeah. Button class link button outline none. But he hasn't added any link. No, he hasn't. Cool. So let me just wrap it around an anchor tag. Okay. Anchor tag href to notes slash create. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, works. Okay. Create notes. And margin top was 6. Right, so I'm gonna change this to can I add that over here? No, it does make sense adding it on the anchor tag, but let me add this to this. D6 create note. Okay, let me remove this down. Easy peasy. So this is the first thing we did. We created a link to this. We abstracted away the routes associated array into its routes.php file. Then we required it in the router. Then we created a new route, notes slash create. For that we created a controller called the note create controller. Over here, note create controller just sends the header, which is new note. Then it receives a post request. We'll look at that later. And it requires the note view. The note view over here is what you just saw here. It's a form which says your note, and that has no placeholder because I removed it, I deleted it. This is a text area, and then it has a cancel and a submit button. Submit button we just copied, and then it has a back to all nodes. So in fact, if I just cancel probably won't do anything. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. I think I'll need to like program cancel to be back to all nodes. So basically I just need to add a ahref there, anchor tag there. So let me do that. Anchor tag slash nodes, and I'll move this back up, refresh, and then cancel. Yeah, cool. Then once we submit whatever information, it goes to the controller, which is here, create node controller, and it first checks if the request method is post, because right now it's get, but if I click here it's going to be post. If it is post, then it basically dumps what we saw here. So I'll say this is an example. It's going to dump that on the screen and die the execution, kill the execution. See, because the method was post. So the next task is to probably feed this into the database, but we'll find that out in maybe the next or maybe a future episode. This is a recap of what we learned today. Thank you for learning PHP with me. Huge shout out to Laracasts. Please go check them out on laracast.com. It's a free PHP. Let me refresh this. Notes. Oh, I just closed VS Code. That's why I stopped the server. Anyway, it's a free PHP for beginners course. Check them out on laracast.com, or they have the whole thing on YouTube for free. Links to both of them are in the description of this video. Thanks again for watching. You have a nice day ahead. Bye.